You knew going into it, it was going to be a lot of work. And we often hear that crowdfunding is so much work. It's not often broken down in terms of what that work is. So like, what is the kind of work that you're doing? What does it entail? What is it that just has you, just where like every second of the day you're trying to raise this money? What is it? Can you break it down for us?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of reaching out to people we know, reaching out to our network, to friends, to try to find places where it can connect, where what we're doing will resonate with someone. And we weren't sure, I think when we launched, we weren't sure what that was going to be, if it was going to be the fact that our web series is going to feature, if it was going to be the sci-fi aspect, if it was going to be, one of the things that we're doing is we have 2 Latino leads, but it's not, they're non-stereotypical roles. It's universal, they just so happen to be Latino, which is something that you don't see that often. And we found that resonated, but that wasn't really our focus when we started. And I think had we known where to focus rather than just kind of throwing it off in all these different directions, I think that would have helped us narrow our focus sooner, because the other ones just kind of didn't necessarily fall on deaf ears, but it wasn't enough to kind of generate momentum going forward. And that was the other thing that we found, I think, is that when we're sending emails off and we're letting people know and tweeting about it and on Facebook about it, constantly we start to see something build, but the second we stop, everything else stops. And when you start again, you still have to start from that zero all over again. And if you want to build that momentum, you have to keep it going, otherwise it drops and you have to start from the same point every time it stops.
And not recently, but like in the last couple of days, we've sort of been doubling all of those efforts. So we have been contacting different blogs and that kind of thing. But even that in and of itself is like figuring out how to do that takes up time too, because it's like, okay, well, this is a blog I want to contact. I'm like, yeah, I have an email, but that doesn't mean anything if you don't know them, if you've never spoken to them or you haven't reached out to them before. And so for me, I got lucky with one of them where I just started like tweeting about them for a little bit until they contacted me. I was like, okay, well, that worked. So like making those kind of discoveries as you're going, like, oh, that's how you reach out to them. But when all you have is the Kickstarter page, it's like, is that going to be enough to contact somebody and say, hey, we have this cool project? Or is that just going to be like, yeah, I get like 100 of these a day? So kind of finding that balance of like which one is going to respond, and then actually executing and figuring out how to reach out to them in the way that they're going to, want to respond, has been really challenging as well.
And not getting discouraged when you don't hear back too, I think is really important, because like she said, there are places that get hundreds of random emails here and there. I'm sure Film Courage got a bunch of random help me out on my campaign kind of thing, and we haven't necessarily built up a lot of relationships with a lot of places that can help us get the word out with some, but with the ones we haven't, how do we approach them? And if they don't get back in touch with us, that makes sense given what we know, and to not get discouraged about that and say, oh, that means that they don't believe in us, because it just means they have a very large inbox with new emails, right. And we might get lucky, we might not.